Okay, let's dive into some just like real world techniques. And we're going to start with kind of the big one. The big one that is used in more film music than you can possibly imagine. Once I explain this to you, what this thing is and how it works, you're going to watch every movie you've ever seen. You're going to say, oh, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. It is a phenomenal technique for film music. So let's get into it. I want to introduce it by talking about opening titles. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here. The opening sequence of a movie can really act as like an overture for the rest of the soundtrack. It's a place where we can introduce some of the themes, we can introduce the instrumentation, and we can kind of set the mood for what the music's going to do throughout the film. Now, I want to play for you two different examples, very different opening sequences from two different movies. And afterwards, we're going to talk about the technique that they're using, and it's the same in both techniques, even though the music is very different. Okay, so this first one is from Captain America Civil War, the opening theme. This is by Henry Jackman. Let's just listen to it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, let's talk about what we heard there. What we heard was primarily orchestra music, right? So we heard orchestra music. At the very end, we got a little bit of choir in there. That's cool. So we've kind of introduced those elements. That's great. Let's talk about the kind of main musical material we heard. We heard kind of two different riffs in this. In the beginning, we had this one. Just repeats over and over, dun 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 dun, that thing. And then out here somewhere, it got a little more intense. So that was kind of our second main riff. The harmony that we used was really, really static. The harmony doesn't change a lot. There's not huge chord progressions here because we're building on these two riffs over and over and over and over. The entire beginning section was that one riff, and then it built into the second riff, which is really kind of based on the first. But the second riff had its own kind of level of intensity, but not that much harmony moving around inside of it. You know, there wasn't like a big chord progression going on there. So it was really just those two riffs combined with extra elements, right? So we had those riffs, and then, you know, there were these orchestra hits, some kind of melodic things popping out, but no big melody, right? Like Let's jump back a little ways here. The thing closest to a melody is that riff. We've got some percussion. More of that riff. Choir. So at no point do we get like a melody, right? That we're like, oh, we could walk away singing that. It's just that riff over and over. And we have a word for that. The word is ostinato. Whenever you need to make something kind of intense, ostinato is the way to go. We're going to talk about what an ostinato is in this section, but this is a great example of it. We'll come back to it, but we use them all the time in opening sequences. We use them in chase scenes. We use them anywhere where we need to be intense. And sometimes you can do it. You can use an ostinato for not intense scenes, but more passive scenes too. Ostinato is probably the most used technique in film scoring. Let's look at one more example of an ostinato in one of my all-time favorite movies. Let's go to a new video for that.